So as we approach this Thanksgiving week, gratitude is often the talk and the reminders and the time that we really focus on being thankful. We've all experienced our, what I call sort of default gratitude, our human gratitude for what we have, for the ways in which we get to walk this life with family and friends, that our basic needs are met, whether it's for a great job or for retirement or a healthy body. It's often the time that we take stock and give thanks for the good that is present in our life. And in past years, I've talked about what's been labeled proactive gratitude, a more powerful form of gratitude. It's that giving thanks in advance that Jesus often demonstrated. In fact, one of the more powerful demonstrations was when he was teaching and talking with people all day, and night was beginning to fall, and they realized that they needed to feed the people, and they took stock of what they had. And as those of you who've been around in Christianity any length of time have heard this story, that his disciples reported to them all they had was what they had brought for themselves, which was a couple of loaves of bread and a few fish. And obviously, this was completely inadequate to meet the needs of the people who were there. It was reported 5,000 men plus women and children, so it wasn't going to go very far to feed the people. I know there's been certainly times in my life where the resources at hand did not seem adequate to meet whatever the needs were of that moment, and I did not feel a huge sense of gratitude for that moment. And yet, each of us, as we've probably been in similar situations, have had to work towards how do we navigate through this? And proactive gratitude, the way Jesus demonstrated, is a good clue for each of us. In the story, he took what was there, took it into his hands, and then gave thanks. Gave thanks for the abundance that was present, and gave thanks for knowing that all of the needs were being met by this supply. He was giving thanks from a place of elevated awareness. Sometimes that's challenging for us. A place from the knowing that there is abundance always, everywhere present, even if we can't always see it and appropriate it in our human material form. He looked around and gave gratitude for the evidence of God's bounty in life, evidenced by what they had. Sometimes it's just taking what we have and giving thanks for that and knowing that there is a way to make that enough for what we need. It's an invitation for each of us to take a look at where we've had those experiences of not enough and to do our best to try and shift our attention and give thanks for the evidence of God's good present all around us. The idea in this story, as it was presented to us, that there definitely wasn't enough, but there was something. And because Jesus understood the presence of abundance in the universe, he was able to bless and give thanks for what he had in his hands. Now, we're told in the story that everyone was fed, that after Jesus blessed it, the baskets went out, and there was enough. Some would call it a miracle. That's the way often humanity is, that somehow this bread and fish just kept on multiplying, even as people took what they needed. And in fact, we're told there wasn't just enough, there was an abundance left over. There were these baskets filled with bread and fish, even once everyone had been fed. And I love the perspective, and I first heard this through Gary Simmons, as he reimagined this story, because we wanted to see it as a miracle, but what if this was the miracle? Imagine with me that Jesus instructed his disciples to take the baskets, whatever was there, and say to each person they encountered, if you need something to eat, take something. If you have more. Because many people would have brought food as they went out to the hills to hear this master teacher speak. So then if you have extra, please put extra in the basket. And imagine this whole crowd, because those who really needed it took what they needed, but those who had an abundance, more than they needed for that particular meal, trusted. And I can see them trusting that after hearing this teacher who enlivened hearts and minds, saying, if you've got, trust. Don't worry where your next meal is going to come from. Trust in this moment that there's enough, and give to others. And at the end, as everyone had given what they could and taken what they needed, there was an abundance left over. I've witnessed this happen in a group of people where there were some that were in need, and people were just willing in that moment. And it was almost like it was an energetic thing that all of a sudden, even people who wouldn't normally do that were going, yeah, I can give a little more. See where I've got enough. So proactive gratitude, its richness is not in some magical thinking, but it's in that awareness that there's enough and being able to give thanks for it. And that energy helps that enoughness show up in a physical way. I also want to this morning talk about another form of gratitude that I was recently reminded of. And it's finding and being grateful for the good in the goo. The good in the goo that's inherent in our evolutionary process. It uses the metaphor of the butterfly to help us to understand how this might show up in our own life experience, in our own collective process of change and growth and evolution. And it's adapted from the book Gateway to Evolutionary Consciousness by Barbara Marx Hubbard, which is one of my favorite authors. So she writes this. She says, let's compare our situation, the situation of life, the situation of the evolutionary place we find ourselves in right now, not only as individuals, but as a planet, with the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly. When the caterpillar weaves its cocoon, imaginal discs begin to appear. These discs embody the blueprint of the butterfly yet to come. And although the discs are a natural part of the caterpillar's evolution, its immune system recognizes them as foreign and tries to destroy them. As the discs arrive faster and faster and begin to link up and multiply, the caterpillar's immune system breaks down and its body begins to disintegrate. And when the discs mature and become these new cells being birthed into what was the caterpillar, they form themselves into a new pattern, thus transforming the disintegrating body of the caterpillar into the butterfly. The breakdown of the caterpillar's old system is essential for the breakthrough of the butterfly. Yet, in reality, the caterpillar neither dies nor disintegrates, for from the beginning, its hidden purpose was to transform and to be reborn as a butterfly. She goes on to say that once a caterpillar has disintegrated all of its tissues, except for the new cells, these new imaginal cells, these new cells use the protein-rich soup, what she calls the goo, all around them to fuel the rapid development of this new butterfly. It is used to form the wings and the antennae and the eyes and all of the other parts of the adult butterfly. In the quantum living process, which looks at our own evolutionary development, and especially the one I've been studying, this how this happens at a group level, part of my curriculum this past semester in this course that I'm taking, you can imagine that like the caterpillar, we are being called to evolve into an expanded consciousness, both as individuals and as a community. And like the caterpillar, it's hard to imagine sometimes exactly where we're being called into. It's hard to imagine the view of the caterpillar from the air because the caterpillar's only known its perspective as it's traveled on the ground. We can't know always what our expanded consciousness is going to lead us into, will birth something new. And also, like the caterpillar, we cannot have the gifts of the butterfly, our own expanded consciousness, without surrendering to the process of transformation. It's tempting sometimes to attack what's emerging because it means changing what is. It means releasing all that we are so that we can become what we've come here to be. Because I think each of us came in with a purpose for our time here on earth. And just as the caterpillar must release its old idea of itself without knowing what it's going to become, so must we. What we have to learn to discover is that as we are letting go of what has been, there's going to be some goo. There's going to be some stuff that we have to be in the midst of during that process of transformation. We all have times, at least I certainly have, moments when we feel like we're sort of just stuck in that goo. It's something that is holding us down, holding us back, keeping us from that transformation process. And it takes being able to see its good to move us through it. Finding that good in the goo, using it as fuel to transform, to move us into a new way of being is only possible when we begin to recognize that our purpose for this human journey is to transform. We get confused sometimes, or at least I certainly have been in my time here on the planet, with what we're here to do or to be or to have. Yes, there's the way success is measured in the human form with however it is that we have decided that should look like. But if we begin to understand that our process here is to grow, is to bring a greater understanding and expression of life, of love, of joy, of peace to our world in our own unique ways. When we can see that, then we can begin to use and see and know that whatever this good is, or this goo is, it is here for our good. So as we move into our time of meditation, I'm going to invite you this morning just to have this be a time of inward reflection, of listening, of being present with whatever goo might be showing up in your life, or the goo of the world that might have an impact on how you are able to navigate each and every day, whether it's a challenge in a relationship or at work or with your health or appearances of lack, to ask your highest wisdom to show you the good in that goo. So join with me as we just take a moment to move our full awareness to this time and to this space, aware of our bodies and how they're being supported by what we're sitting on, aware of our breath that brings us into this present moment. And as you bring your attention down into your heart space, that place where that eternal part of you lives in this physical body, as you connect to it and open your mind to its whisperings and its guidance, allow whatever goo is going on in your life or in the world to come into that space so that it can be illumined. You can begin to see and understand what this dissolving of the old is calling us to step into, what is seeking to emerge out of it. Just take a moment and listen with that inner ear for its guidance and wisdom. And then see if you can't move to a space where you can have gratitude. Gratitude from the awareness that whatever is breaking down is simply the process of transforming into something new, something that is seeking to emerge, that allows you to step into, in greater ways, who you have come here to be as God's unique, loving expression. Let it fuel whatever is seeking to emerge, become the food for a new awareness, a new way that you can engage in life. And see if there is that feeling of gratitude that can bubble up as a result, even in the midst of the challenge. Take another deep breath and begin to bring your awareness back to this time, to the sounds in the room. Awareness once again of your body and your breath. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. There's a lot of change going on likely in our own individual lives and families, but certainly evidence of a lot of change and challenge happening in our world. And it's challenging to be able to see it from that place of something new seeking to emerge. And I wish our process went as quickly as the butterflies did, because theirs only takes days. Ours takes decades, lifetimes, eons, it seems, to get into this place. And yet, we're the ones. We are the ones awake enough, open enough to continue the process that many others before us have also added their energy and their willingness. In 2021, and I'm sharing this because it's not just the bigger world out there, but it's a challenge that we're going to walk through over the next several decades in faith communities all across the planet, and certainly it's affecting new thought also. Because in 2021, so just a couple of years ago, with a poll that was taken in 17 developed countries, most people said that their happiness, their meaning in life can be found in, number one was family, friends, and material well-being. Lower down the line were career success and health, with only 2% mentioning spirituality and faith as essential to their happiness. It's reflected in where people not only invest their time, certainly most people invest the vast majority of their time in working and creating a living so that they can support their family and playing with family and friends in free time. Maybe for some that health is a real high priority, carving out some time to work out. But very few carve time out, whether it's in a community or individually, for their own spiritual health and well-being. But what if, as the spiritual masters have taught for thousands of years, the evolutionary transformation is the true purpose of the human journey? What if, from this new understanding, we could see that the goo that gets generated in the process of change should be celebrated as evidence, as the food for what's coming next, can be embraced as the demonstration that we are indeed in this transformation process. Yes, family, friends, career, health, they all become part of the transformation possibilities. But it's that growth, and it's that willingness to grow through all those aspects of our life that we celebrate. The more that we can embrace the change, no matter how challenging it shows up in our life, to find gratitude and see it as evidence of growth, the more equipped that we're going to be able to navigate the goo of community change, of change in our country and change in the world. It's clear to those who look at it that the traditional model of church is dissolving. It is moving into that goo stage, waiting for something new to emerge. We know this because church attendance over the past 70 years has plummeted from 70% who regularly attended church to now less than 30%. And even in the last decade, and precipitated by COVID, that number has dropped even lower. And in fact, 25% of all Unity churches have closed in the last probably 4 or 5 years. And that's what has enlivened me in my interest to invest my time and my money and my energy into this integral ministry program. And next year, we're going to start talking about what that looks like. I don't know what it's going to emerge into. None of us do. But we have to be willing to be in the process of trying to collectively see what is it that we as a community are seeking to emerge as something new. The final type of gratitude that I've started to experience, primarily over the last decade, is what I call soul gratitude. I don't know what else name to give it. Moments where out of nowhere, this feeling along with the thought arises in me with no prompting by anything happening out there. I love my life. I love my life. And I think it arises just because I feel this sense of being on purpose. Now, mine happens to be in this role, but all of us have a purpose. All of us have something that's greater than what the human journey would inform us we're here to do. But it's a soul purpose. And when we can be in alignment with that, whatever that looks like, I think we begin to get these bubblings up. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, it doesn't happen all the time, and I I have my days. In fact, these last few days, I feel like I've been swimming around in the goo quite a bit. And haven't been as able to just go, yay, look at all this goo. But I think that it's arising, again, out of those places, not because things are going right, but because we're in the right place at the right time, doing what's ours to do. And I want to share one other one with you. And this is really more recent, probably in the last year. It's been an interesting little phenomena. But it's also these moments, odd, random moments. This happens for me almost daily, at least every few days, where this voice, this thought arises out of me that says, I love you. I love you. I mean, it's new for me. I love it. I'm grateful for it because it gets generated from within. It doesn't matter if anybody else is loving me in that moment, that inner part of me. And I think it comes from the work that I've been doing, the shadow work that I've been doing, and I've really developed this relationship with my inner child, with little Linda. I've never in my adult life thought much about my inner child, that it was still alive and active and driving a lot of the way that I engage with life. So as I've been trying to make friends and work to heal some of those old stuff that little child took on as beliefs about life, now all of a sudden, I think that's where it's coming from. I don't know where it's coming from or my soul, but to just be able to have those moments that aren't prompted by anything happening out here, but just that remind me that I'm loved, is one of the most precious gifts that I've gotten that I'm grateful for. So I pray that all of you, at some level, get to experience soul gratitude, for it will get you through those moments when you're swimming around in the goo. Bless you as you go forward. And well, we are preparing to do our offering today, give you an opportunity to share of your financial good with this ministry. And because of our setup today with the choir, we're going to be passing the baskets. So if you are sharing today, you can give as those come by, or you can just put your hand over it and add your energy of abundance into this flow that we know moves in and through us to support us in all that's ours to do. We would also love for you to have an affirmation. We've put the baskets back there at either of the doors so you can pick one of those up on your way out. So join with me as we bless all that we receive as we join together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right, now everyone can join us in our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And so as we go into this week, we call upon all the different types of gratitude to be foremost and present in our hearts and in our minds as we know our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. All right. You want to go see Mama? Is Mama coming to get you? Is Mama coming to get you?